All right. Testing, testing, testing. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Buff Nation. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Y'all do me a favor, hit that like as you're checking in. Let me know who's watching in the comments and what your thoughts are. Of course, but I've been getting tagged a bunch in this in Twitter, and I think it's kind of funny. So I thought I would get on here and talk a little bit about Joe Barry. I mean, I think that this is honestly a big time long shot, that he would come to Boulder. But man, I would be thrilled if he made that choice. And I think that there are a couple of reasons why he might consider that, which I think is pretty cool. If you're not familiar with Joe Barry, he's been the defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers the last few seasons. I want to say like the last 3 seasons. And he's a guy that's been coaching for a very, very long time. He's a guy that's been on a lot of impressive defensive staffs, especially in the NFL. We'll get into that in here in a little bit. But I think most importantly, okay, if he has been coaching in the NFL, let me see, since 2000, the last 23 years, what might be a reason for him to return to the college ranks? One, if he wants a defensive coordinator position, if he's still wanting to call defenses. I'm not really too sure of what the other DC openings that there are right now. I know that there will be a few, and probably are a few. But also he's a local Boulderite. He was born, raised in Boulder, although he did not go to CU. He went to, I want to say, Michigan for a year and then USC to finish out his college career. And he hasn't been back in Colorado since career wise, but this is a guy that I feel like is a bright defensive mind. He's a good and solid coordinator. Now, why is he being fired? Green Bay kind of ranked middle of the road when it came to a lot of measurements this year. And with the amount of money and draft capital that they put into their defense, I think that's totally reasonable that they should be expecting a top 10, defense there in Green Bay, even with some of the injuries that they've dealt with. And so you could say, like, especially this past year, that Green Bay did not live up to expectations on the defensive side at all. And so, when the talent is stacked, sometimes you're going to make a move to try and get that unit to its fullest potential. But nonetheless, I think that Joe Barry would be a fantastic hire here. And so what I'm wanting to do right now is just kind of take you through his experience. Let's take some time to dream. I think he would be a really fun fit. One, not only because he's been coaching in the NFL the last 23, 24 seasons, right? Has a lot of experience there, but of course, give him the opportunity to come back to Boulder, where he got started with everything, just down the road from Fairview High School. What's up, K Vizzy? Yeah, I'll comment on those here in a bit. The workouts were crazy. But hey, why don't I just take you through his Wikipedia page, because there's a lot of coaches that I want to highlight that he's worked under that this is very impressive. And I do want to say, one of, I think, his biggest strengths is he would help develop our linebackers. They're one of the weakest groups on our team right now. People probably don't like to hear that, but that's the truth of the matter. So, hey, we get a guy in here like Joe Barry to come in here and develop these linebackers. Hey, somebody that has a proven track record, right? I'm not going to complain about that. I'm going to fully welcome it with open arms. But yeah, let's get to it. Joe Barry, 53 years old, born in Boulder, Colorado, Fairview High School. Absolutely love it. And as a coach, I mean, he's been coaching since 1995. So almost 30 years, 30 seasons now, right? USC, Northern Arizona, UNLV, mainly worked with the linebackers, right? But once he gets into the NFL, his experience is really interesting. Okay. So worked under Jim Mora and Steve Mariucci in a quality control role with the San Francisco 49ers. But then after that, he was hired as the linebackers coach for Tony Dungy, big proponent, and Monty Kiffin, big proponents of the Tampa 2 defense, obviously, and worked under some big time defensive minds, Monty Kiffin and Tony Dungy. And he was retained by John Gruden, ended up coaching the linebackers and helping that defense, bring Tampa Bay to their first Super Bowl title against the Oakland Raiders. It was really awesome. And he was there a long time, through 2006. Is that when John Gruden left? I want to imagine that it was. And then he goes to the Detroit Lions. So he's kind of had some big ups and downs throughout the teams that he's found himself coaching on. Because, I mean, as we know, he was part of that staff that went 0-16. And he's the son-in-law of Rod Marinelli. That caused some controversy as well. Rob Parker never, I guess, showed up to another Detroit Lions press conference after that, making some, a questionable question. That is honestly super hilarious. But again, it's timing. It's how you ask it, all of that. But asking Rod Marinelli if he wished his daughter had married a better defensive coordinator, that's not always going to go over so well, right? But after his experience with a winless season in Detroit, heading back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, worked for Jim Bates, defensive coordinator, and head coach Raheem Morris, who I don't think got a long enough shake there in Tampa Bay. Back to Jacksonville, USC for a short stint. Then he was with San Diego Chargers, working under John Pagano, another really good defensive-minded coach. And this was kind of in the heyday of the San Diego Chargers, when Norv Turner was taking over for Marty Schottenheimer. They had some really good teams back then, so some good defenses and linebackers as well. Worked with the Washington Redskins, yada, 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 who cares? But in 2017, was hired as the linebackers coach of the Los Angeles Rams, an assistant head coach under Sean McVay. And so he was there for quite a while. I believe the Rams won the Super Bowl after this, but went to a Super Bowl with that team and lost to the Patriots. And then he's found himself back with back to where he was most recently, the Green Bay Packers, working under Matt LaFleur, replacing Mike Pettin, another good defensive coordinator, right? And I thought this was really interesting. He did a really good job of developing veteran linebacker Devontae Campbell, who I saw as a Fort Myers guy, and ended up helping him go from a $2 million contract signee to being all pro, signing a $50 million contract extension, all of that. And so he does have a track record with player development. But again, even though you got, these little things to hang your hat on, at the end of the day, this is a results-oriented business. Green Bay has invested a ton of assets, draft capital, and money into that defense, and they feel like it should be better than kind of middle of the road or the lower end of things with some of these defensive metrics, right? So I think that he would be obviously a really experienced hire, which is something that I would be a big fan of. When you've coached this long, granted, there is nepotism and stuff like that in coaching. We know how this is. But I think overall, just like what I've talked about with Pat Shurmur, it's really important to me to see Coach Prime hire people with competency. Overall, I think throughout his career right now, Coach Prime has done a pretty good job at hiring his coordinators, even going back obviously to the Jackson State stuff. But, at the end of the day, the Sean Lewis hire was a bad one. It didn't work out. And even though I would have liked to see Charles Kelly stay here, obviously not given much talent to work with, I understand the argument that, hey, his hire with DC wasn't very good this past year either. So it's very important that we're hiring competent people who have been in this position before, because again, we don't have time to waste. Colorado has to have a winning record this year, no doubt. And so I don't think we have the luxury this year to allow people to learn on the job. At another level, I mean, we allowed Nathaniel Hackett to learn on the job, as a Broncos fan, and we saw how that turned out, right? So let's go out, hire somebody with competency. Again, I feel like this is an absolute long shot. It's been pretty clear, other than his one stint in at USC between 2009 and coming back with the Chargers in 2012, that, hey, this guy's stuck at the NFL level. What would it take for him to consider coming over here? Well, one, a return to home. Maybe he's excited about what's going on here at CU here in Boulder. But again, to play devil's advocate, he was never a student here, was never a player here. Michigan and USC were his schools. So, but if we can make him comfortable, right, that's really what's the most important thing. And might he prefer to be a linebackers coach or at the NFL level as opposed to a defensive coordinator at the college level? We'll just have to see. But if I'm Coach Prime, if I'm Rick George, I'm definitely trying to get in touch with his agent, at least trying to make a call out there just to gauge interest, if he would be interested in doing something like this. And honestly, I don't even hate it if it's just like a gap year type of thing. I don't. Hey, let's just see how this goes for a year. So, but I think he's worked under really good coaches. So again, Tony Dungy, Monty Kiffin, Raheem Morris, John Gruden. He's more of an offensive guy though, right? Sean McVay, and Wade Phillips was, his defensive coordinator over there. Okay. Raheem Morris, is there now, I think. And then of course working under Matt LaFleur, but John Pagano. These are all really, really good coaches. And I really would love the idea and the story of somebody returning to their hometown to coach this team. I would absolutely love it. But I will say right now, Buffs Nation, that I feel like this is probably a long shot, not one to get your hopes up with, as who knows what I forgot what I was saying. I got distracted. But who knows what direction we go with. Oh, yeah. What I was going to say was, I don't think Coach Prime has a relationship with Joe Barry. And, we're just going to have to see. But anyways, I'll take some of your questions here for a little bit, and then I got to get back to it. But hope you guys are having a wonderful day. What's up, Dev? Hope you're doing all right. Hope you're having a great day. Truck and Chubby, man. How's it going? Yeah, we got to connect soon, man. I saw that you were on. I meant to text you this morning. Chubby was on a show with Coach Hayes yesterday. I got to listen to maybe about 20, 25 minutes of it so far. Awesome job. Y'all be sure to subscribe to Chubby. Go check out his show with Coach Hayes yesterday. It was awesome. Had some really interesting callers call in. The discussion was great. Keep it up, man. The workouts were brutal today. Yeah, we need some more of that military training for sure. I saw the guys doing all those push-ups where they're like stacked on top of each other. That was crazy. And then I know with the Twitter space that Shador and the offensive lineman did yesterday, which was pretty funny. They were talking about, all that yesterday, man. It was really funny. Indo Sports, good to see you saying, I actually see Travis breathing hard, which, hey, guys, that's a difficult thing to do. That's a difficult thing to do. Meech, is it safe to say that the DC they hire will have experience being a safety position coach? I don't think that's a foregone conclusion. I know that there's a lot of debate over well, this defensive coordinator can't bring in his whole, he doesn't have final say over the entire staff. That's a lot more common in college football than people want to talk about. I know it's a little bit more common at the NFL level. And usually, kind of where it ends up is that there's usually a little bit give and take. There might be some position coaches where the DC will have a say on. My hope is that whoever they're bringing in here has a say on some of these guys. And that's why I don't think that it's a foregone conclusion that that this person would be a safeties coach just because we need a safeties coach. As much as I love Andre Hart's personality, there is, I think a lot to, I think the criticism for him in particular is valid. We didn't see much from our linebackers last year. I don't think we saw much development. Again, when you got to bring a guy like Trevor Woods down into the linebacker position midseason because nobody else is ready from that position, it's just not a good look. And if we were to bring in somebody like Joe Barry, I would want him coaching the linebackers, if that gives you any idea of kind of how I feel about things. So I know that these guys are Coach Prime's friends, so I'm probably talking about something that is a little too it's not probable at all. But that's just kind of how I view it. There's probably some members on the staff that are, hey, we're not going to touch this. But if you can bring in a really solid coach, but it costs you, hey, maybe one of our current position coaches, they want to make a change or something like that, I think Coach Prime can help these guys, get positions elsewhere too. So that's just kind of my thought on it. I don't think it's, again, bringing in a college DC to then have final say over the entire defensive staff, it's just not as common as people would like to think in college football. There's a little bit more give and take. The head coach is the final say. Yeah, we got Dennis Thurman going out to Hawaii, and Leigh Marie, good question. Do you think he is a better option than Mike Zimmer? I really don't know. I think that I really just kind of like the Mike Zimmer thing. If we're gonna do the Pat Shurmur thing on the offensive side of the ball, let's just do the same thing with the DC, man. Like, we know he's a fiery guy. He's a no nonsense guy. He can handle himself, obviously, like a head coach. I think one thing that I really like and see from Pat Shurmur is that he has a very commanding presence here at CU. And I think a lot of that is due to his experience, as a head coach, as a longtime NFL assistant. And Mike Zimmer would command that same type of respect. Not Mike Zimmerman. Wasn't that guy? Who's Mike Zimmerman? Somebody else is Mike Zimmerman, but Mike Zimmer. Did I miss an announcement, or are you doing research on who it could be? Yeah. Joe Barry's a dream hire. He's a dream hire. I think it's very unlikely, but I love to get on here and talk about the possibility of it because, you might be able to make a sales pitch for him to do another gap year before he gets, takes another NFL position. I think that's a reasonable thing that you could offer him. Hey, come here for a year. Let's see how it goes. Come back home. I would not be doing a video on this if Joe Barry did not grow up in Boulder, Colorado. No way. Because, again, with his 30 years of coaching experience, I think only 6 of them have been spent outside the NFL. Now, if we're talking about from a defensive coordinator perspective, obviously the Green Bay one's open. He's not going to get that since he was just fired from it. But I know I'm not sure what the New England Patriots staff looks like right now. Obviously, the Atlanta Falcons, the Chargers, and the Seahawks are all hiring new staffs. Who knows, like, who's going to be retained in those positions? But if a new head coach comes in and wants to bring in a lot of their guys, then I could see him totally moving into a linebackers coach or maybe another defensive coordinator position there. So, uh, yeah, I would imagine that he is looking for NFL opportunities first. But again, maybe you can just sell him on something different. Joey Richards, what's up, man? Hope you're doing well. We got to collab on our Broncos video soon. I got my channel going. I was going to record a video here in a little bit. But yeah, y'all go follow JR Drafts on Twitter. He's a great follow. So yeah, and I guess we need another defensive line coach as well, depending on what happens with Warren Sapp. Is Sal back yet? I know he was sick. Is he back? I haven't been able to see anything official yet. So, anyways, guys, gonna cut this short. Gonna end this. I'll get it uploaded to Spotify, okay? And yeah, feel free to give me a follow on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok, trying to post a little bit more on there as well. And I'm sure I'll be back later today, definitely tomorrow. So y'all just keep an eye out. But really appreciate every single one of you. And yeah, be sure to hit the like on the way out. Shout out to my sponsor, Yo Martez. If you ever want some merch, use SCO Buffs for 10% off. Link in the description. And as always, everybody, SCO Buffs.